Hello and welcome to the final session of our discussion on this course. Today we are looking at measuring progress and effectiveness, right? So this will be our last session for business policy and strategy. By the end of this class, you should be able to explain key performance indicators and strategic metrics. You should also be able to examine monitoring tools and feedback mechanisms for continuous improvement. So, why do we measure progress, right? Is it even important to measure progress? Yes. So why do we measure progress? We measure progress to track organizations' performance. You want to know if the organization is achieving its goals. All right. So the first reason you track or you measure progress is to track the organization's performance and the goal achievement. You also want to identify areas of success and opportunities for improvement. All right. That is why we measure progress. And then the last reason is to ensure that the organization is being effective. So if you measure the progress, then you are able to tell if the performance is okay, if goals are achieved, if the organization is efficient and effective. All right. And it also helps you to identify several opportunities that are available to the organization. All right. It also helps you to identify risks. Okay. So if the organization is effective, what it means is that it is able to achieve the objectives it set for itself. Okay. So we would say an organization is effective if it achieves, or if it's able to meet all the objectives that is set for itself, so that the outcomes meet the expectations of stakeholders. So to measure the performance, there are key performance indicators, all right? And these have to be SMART. Okay, there are specific measurable values that indicate an organization's progress towards its objectives. So effective KPIs are SMART. We have spoken about SMART already at some point in our discussion, right? But KPIs have to be SMART. They have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, relevant, and time bound. You can have several types of KPIs. You can have financial KPIs, right? You can have operational KPIs. You can have customer KPIs. And you can also have employee KPIs, right? Financial KPIs, you may want to focus on revenue growth, right? The profit margins that you have, the return on investments. Okay. And there are a lot of financial analysis that can be done to come up with these indicators. Then you have operational KPIs, which would focus on production efficiency, okay, the inventory turnover, right? The way your operations are going. So these are some operational KPIs that you are likely to have. Your customer KPIs, some of which are the customer satisfaction score, all right? You may want to look at the net promoter score. Or for your employees, you may want to see the retention rate, right? You may want to see how effective training is. And all of these are KPIs that you can set to measure progress in the organization. We also have strategic metrics. And the strategic metrics are broader measures which are used to evaluate long-term goals and overall strategy effectiveness. Okay, so some of the strategic metrics are the market share. You want to look at your innovative rate and sustainability metrics. If you say the market share, we are looking at how you compare with competition on the market. So if all of you have 100%, what is your total percentage on the market as compared to other competitors? So that is your market share. And it indicates your competitive position, right? Then you also can have the innovative rate, which measures the percentage of revenue from new products. Okay, so it would this innovative rate measures how much of your revenue is from new products. Okay, then you have the sustainability metrics, which check energy efficiency as well as waste reduction. These metrics are based on environmental issues. Okay. So there's a way that KPIs connect to the strategic metrics. The strategic metrics, they are long-term goals, and the KPIs measure performance. Okay, so it is important to align the performance to your long-term goals or measures of the long-term goals. So KPIs have to be linked to the strategic metrics, right? And that means aligning the departmental KPIs with the strategic metrics to ensure that there's cohesion, to ensure that they are working together. Otherwise, the KPIs will be headed towards one direction, whilst the strategic metrics will also be headed towards another direction, in which case it will not be in the interest of the organization. So we look at some of the monitoring tools that are used to measure progress. All right. The first set of tools we have are the dashboard tools. The dashboard tools. These provide real-time visual representation of the KPIs and the metrics. So you can have it showing on a screen. All right. You can have it showing on a screen or a monitor that makes everybody know what is happening. Okay. One that we can identify with is the Google Analytics. It shows you the graphs and how things are going. All right. Or you can use other software. You have Tableau, you have Power BI that gives you a graphical representation of what is happening. Okay. Then you also can use project management software to track the task completion and resource allocation. Okay. You can also use financial tools that will monitor the financial performance and budgeting and all of those. So in this day of technology, there are a lot of softwares that help to get this done. Okay. And then the last tool that we have is the feedback mechanism. Okay. So the feedback mechanism receives feedback from employee surveys, from your customers, and then from some focus group discussions or meetings that you will have with your stakeholders. So once you get this done, it gives you a fair idea of your progress. But the last one, which is the feedback mechanism, is mostly qualitative, okay? Unless it is a survey and you end up analyzing data quantitatively. Apart from that, all of these are qualitative, the customer feedback platforms and the focus group discussions. All right. So the feedback mechanisms for continuous improvement, what it does is it enhances the understanding of challenges and opportunities. As you talk to customers, as you talk to employees, as you talk to shareholders, as you talk to the other stakeholders of your organization, what you are doing is trying to get a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities. Okay. It also fosters a culture of accountability and growth. People get to know why things are happening the way they are happening. All right. And it helps everyone. So there are several types of feedback mechanisms. You can have the internal feedback mechanism. There's the external feedback mechanism. You can also have the 360-degree feedback um, mechanism. The internal feedback is where you have feedback from people within your organization. So you have feedback from employees, feedback from the teams in the organization, all right, feedback from management, and all of these together help you to review the systems. And for most organizations, the HR departments organize annual employee performance reviews, okay? And that is done for every employee every year, okay? So you can have feedback from the internal feedback mechanism. You can also look at the external feedback where you have customer surveys and then client testimonials. And like I said earlier, most of these are qualitative. Okay. So you can have feedback from your customers, feedback from people who have done business with you and what they have to say about the services that you rendered to them. Okay. There's also the 360-degree feedback, and that one is a comprehensive feedback from all stakeholders. It does not limit it to internal, or neither does it limit it to just external. It looks at feedback, or it receives feedback from all stakeholders. Okay, so basically that is the 360-degree feedback. And in performing the feedback mechanism, or in going through these feedback for continuous improvement, it is very important because sometimes the feedback you get may not be positive. Okay, so in a case where the feedback is not positive, the one who gave the feedback is likely to suffer some kind of maybe there's a way that people get to treat those who give feedback on them if the report was negative. Okay, they get to be resentful and all of that, not give them the necessary respect. They may even plan uh, to hurt them, or they may want to do negative things to them. So it is important that as an organization you ensure anonymity, so that people will be confident enough to say what exactly is the case. So that in the case where the feedback is not positive, the person is assured of anonymity, and so they can go all out and say the truth the way it is. Okay, so you need to ensure anonymity so that people can be honest with their feedback. And then the feedback should be used constructively to make informed decisions. As much as possible, people should not suffer because they received negative feedback. If, for example, an employee does not get positive feedback, it does not necessarily mean that they should lose their jobs. Okay. It can be an avenue through which you can organize training for such employees. Okay. So the best practice here with the feedback mechanisms is to ensure anonymity, and then to also use the feedback constructively to make informed decisions. Okay. There's also what you call the continuous improvement frameworks. You have the PDCA cycle, the Six Sigma, and then the Agile methodology. Okay, all these are ways of ensuring that there is continuous improvement in the organization. The PDCA cycle is simple. It says plan, do, check, and act. That's all. And it's a cycle. Okay, so you plan, you do, you check, and you act. Plan means that you identify the areas for improvement within the organization, and then you set the goals, right? Once you set the goals, you do. Doing here means implementing the changes on a small scale. So start small, implement the changes little by little. Okay, so you do, and then you check. So plan, do, and then you check. Check means measuring the outcomes and analyzing your results. So you have implemented, what were the outcomes? And did the outcomes align with the goals you set? Okay, so you analyze the results. And then the last element says you act, where you apply the successful changes broadly. Remember that you implemented on a small scale. So if after checking the results are positive, then you can act by applying the successful changes broadly. Okay. There's also the concept of the Six Sigma. All right. This is actually a course that people go through. Okay. And it focuses on reducing process variability and improving quality. What it means is that the rate of the way uh, you come up with your product, the processes you go through should be such that it will not be so different. All right. Um it will be consistent, right? You'll be consistent in how you come up with your manufacturing or with your production. Okay. And as much as possible, the consistency should be seen in the finished product. So your finished product should be of a high quality. What this does is that it helps organizations to improve. All right. It helps you to try to attain the level of excellence where you are coming up with products which have a high quality and which are consistent with what the customer or consumer is looking out for. Okay. Then you have the agile methodology, which emphasizes iterative development and frequent feedback. All right, you do it. If it doesn't work, what were the differences? What didn't go well? All right, you go back, work on it again until you get it the best way you can get it. All right, so there is feedback at every point in the in the operation. All right, so that's the agile methodology. So in measuring progress, there are challenges, right? So challenges in measuring progress and effectiveness. Sometimes it's difficult to define the relevant KPIs. We have looked at the KPIs. Sometimes it's difficult to define them, especially if you want them to be smart. It's difficult to define the relevant KPIs. Another challenge is data overload. Okay, because you are monitoring, so you have to be regularly taking maybe samples, recording, regularly taking records. And with time, you notice that you would have gathered a lot of information about the processes. So if you are not careful, there is the data overload and you become overwhelmed because you don't know which one is even necessary anymore. Okay. Then the third challenge we have here is the lack of real-time insights. So the lack of real-time insights where there's delayed reports. Okay. So it gets to a point where reporting is now not it's not in real time. It's either delayed, and so by the time you have access to the report, it's no more relevant. Okay. And then finally, you have resistance to feedback. Sometimes people get feedback, like I said earlier, and it's negative and they don't take it. Okay, they don't take the fact that maybe they did not perform well or they have come up with a lot of defects in their product. They don't want to hear it. And so because of that, there's that resistance to the feedback that they get. So they may not even take it at all, let alone work to improve on it. Okay. So how we overcome those challenges are, one, to prioritize relevant metrics. It is not everything that we should focus on. You cannot focus on everything. And so we should be able to bring out the relevant metrics, the relevant things that you have to measure. Pick out those ones and then focus on them. All right. Because those ones actually would impact on the strategic goals. But if the measure is such that it doesn't really have anything to do with your strategic goals, then there's no need worrying yourself over it. Okay. And another way to overcome the challenge is to leverage on technology. Use automated tools. Like I said, now there's a lot of software you can use to get things done. Okay, so use them. Use automated tools for data collection and data analysis so that you won't have to worry your head over which formula to use, over how to analyze your data. You just feed your information or your data that you have collected into the system, and then it does the analysis for you. Okay. It's also important to train employees because training them will foster um, skills in data interpretation. They'll be able to um, work with the information that's available. They'll be able to make use of the metrics that they are getting, the indicators that they are having. They'll be able to put meaning to them and apply it to your operations. And then finally, there's the need to encourage a growth mindset. Okay, a growth mindset where people promote the value of constructive criticism. Okay, your employees or your workforce, they should know that when they are criticized or when they receive negative feedback, it's not always the fact that it is them, all right, but the fact that they have to grow, they have to become better, all right. So basically, that is how we try to overcome the challenges. What you have to do is to um, explore how organizations can balance simplicity and detail when you are defining the KPIs. Remember, we said the KPIs, they have to be smart. So how does the organization balance simplicity and detail when they are defining the KPIs? So we'll discuss this in class. Thank you all very much. Like I said, this is the last of this course, business policy and strategy. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's discuss the questions in class. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. I hope I did justice to it. Bye bye.